before that, I would love to kind of know your journey, like
Yeah, for sure. So I think, when I was younger,
your journey, like walk us through who is Tyler. How did you become the person?
my dad, he worked a job in like a Fortune 50 company.
How did you become the person?
He always used to tell me just like, if you can,
It is actually, it's an immoral brainwashing happening to all the kids.
regardless, I decided to drop out.
Yeah, it's a peer pressure, right? It's more about the peer pressure.
At the end of the day, who gives a crap what other people think?
What's going on? What's going on? Everybody who's actually listening to this podcast right now. First of all, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Nikhil Sai Show, which is sort of by me, the Nikhil Sai. And guess what's going on today? I got another banger guest today. I mean, we are talking about an insane journey. Like 19-year-old bro dropout, just like me, and he built a 8-figure company. And we're definitely going to get into all the nitty gritty. He's very, very good at book publishing. I mean, he built a company called Authors Unite where they have published thousands of books. Like they have 4,000 plus Amazon bestsellers, 100 plus New York Times bestsellers, 800 plus Wall Street bestsellers. I mean, I've never seen numbers like this, especially in book marketing. It's not that easy. And he has done over 2,500 podcasts for himself in the business for over 13 years. So we're definitely learning a lot about book publishing, book marketing specifically. And not just that, the core, which is how they actually got so big, is through partnerships. So we will definitely discover on how they do that as well, partnering up with other people and scaling your companies together. Because the best part is you could get referrals without spending ton on fortunes, in advertising. So let's not waste your time, and actually let's welcome the mastermind behind Authors Unite and PartnerProfits.io, Tyler Wagner. Hey, Tyler.
Yes, man. Thank you for having me, man. Grateful to be here.
Yeah, appreciate that, Tyler. I mean, we will get into the nitty gritty stuff of partnerships, book publishing, getting a bestseller, how easy, how hard it is, and all of that good stuff. The barbecue parties we talked about. But before that, I would love to kind of know your journey. Like, walk us through who is Tyler. How did you become the person? I mean, it's 3 a.m. and you're in Vietnam, so we would love to know your story of where did you start, how did you end up there? Like, walk us through your journey, bro, from the scratch to where you are.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, when I was younger, my dad, he worked a job in like a Fortune 50 company. I'll leave the name out just because I mean now he's retired and stuff, but I have some good things and not good things to say about it. So we'll leave the name of that company out, but
Okay.
everybody knows of this company.
Hmm.
But either way, it was like corporate America, right? So like the typical 9 to 5.
Hmm.
And I just remember when I was younger, he did very well financially, but he always used to tell me just like, if you can do your own thing, that's really the best way. Like the 9 to 5 and having somebody kind of dictate all of your actions, at least in a work environment,
Hmm.
is not the most ideal situation. So I think when I was younger, just like entrepreneurship was ingrained in me and
Hmm.
like basically because I saw what the opposite looked like and it just looked very difficult and also kind of in a sense powerless. And like there's always a ceiling. And to be clear, anybody who's listening, nothing against the 9 to 5. If it's something you like and you're comfortable with and you're crushing it, I think that's great. It's just like I think for people like me and you, I'll just speak for myself, but for me, like just the idea of even having a boss, I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to have a boss. Like I just so regardless, that was a kind of a first eliminator for me on that path. But regardless of that, I did go to school. I went to college and I only went for about a year, year and a half. And then I read this book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. You're probably familiar with that book, I would imagine, and most of your audiences. Um, and that book just completely changed my mindset on everything. Like the thing in school, and I'm not sure about your school, but in my school, when I was growing up, they would always tell you like 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So it's like a very risky thing. And so it's just ingrained to you like, oh, if you step off the beaten path of college, corporate America and going up the ladder, if you go this other way, you have a 90% chance of failure, essentially, right? And like
Yeah,
that's how they make it seem.
bad shit.
So, it's kind of like brainwashing, or not kind of it actually, if you
It is
really
actually. Yeah, it's an
yeah,
immoral brainwashing happening to all the kids.
I know. I mean, that would
I'm
take a
very
whole
against
nother
it.
podcast, but
Yeah,
if you wanna do
I
a
would
part
I
2,
would
we can
rant
do
all day.
Because yeah, no, I've gone down that rabbit hole and it definitely
Hmm.
is brainwashed. But so regardless, I decide to drop out. And then basically my idea is like I just always naturally I've been very outgoing and I'm a people person. Just ever since I was younger, people would always used to say like you have the gift of gab, like kind of like the I guess you'd say like the Wolf of Wall Street guy, but without the illegal activity, let's say, like something like that. Um,
Huh.
I would say, and either way, just by the way, for him, like I have nothing against the guy. I think he's great. Love the movie, and I'm glad he's doing well now. So regardless, just to point that out.
Hmm.
But basically, I was like, okay, I think I would do well as a public speaker. So I start going to all these conferences, and we can get more into that if we want to. But ultimately, I go to like hundreds of different conferences, and most of them I'm actually going to for free. The first one that I went to, and this is like a full circle moment, is Tim Ferriss was the keynote speaker at this event. It was called Mastermind Talks, and after I bought his book, I saw on Facebook, like I must have got like retargeted with an ad with his face, right? So I click it and it's a guy, Jason Gaynard, running ads using his face because he is the keynote speaker. So like he had his permission, right, to use his face because he's the keynote speaker of the event. And I reach out. The event was like five or $10,000 a ticket, which at the time, I just dropped out of college. I'm like $80,000 in debt. So there is no way I can spend $10,000 to go to a conference. It's just not in my cards at the time. So
Hmm.
I reach out to the guy and I'm like, I'm just honest. I'm just like, hey man, I'm a broke dropout, aspiring entrepreneur and I want to come to your event, but I cannot afford it. Is there anything we can work out? Like I can help you for free, like whatever I can do to help you to allow me to come to the event for free? And the guy says, "Dude, no lie, it work like it works. Within the next 24 hours, me and him are talking on Skype, like the founder of the event, Jason Gaynard. And then next thing I know, I'm in Toronto, Canada, behind the scenes helping out the event. Tim Ferriss is right next to me. I'm like eating dinner with him, like in a group setting, not like one-on-one, but regardless, like the guy that basically kind of changed my life in a sense, his book, I'm meeting now 6 months later in person. So to me, it's just like I'm
It's a
fanboying
hero
like
moment.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is nuts. And the thing with the conferences that's important is that I notice at this conference and all the other ones that I call it maybe now a tactic. Though it
Hmm.
was all real. I mean, I didn't have money to go to these events, so I was just being honest. And so for any younger kids out there in college that don't have money and want to go to events, try this tactic. If you send enough messages, I promise you it will work. Eventually, you're going to get a yes, and you're going to get to go to these events for free. Like it really does work. But regardless, I notice all of this, I shouldn't say all, 99%, and I think this is legitimate of all speakers at these type of events are authors, right? So they're authors or best-selling authors. So in my head, it clicks. I'm like, okay, well, I'm 19, 20 years old and, I'm 80 grand in debt. Like, who is going to pay me to speak on a stage? Like, what value do I have to bring? Like, there's just, they're going to pay me to like leave the event, if any, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to pay me to like teach people things. What I do is I write a book. My first book is called Conference Crushing. It's about basically how to network at events, like what to do before, during, and after. Like a little guidebook, like 70 pages or so. But it ends up doing pretty well. Sells like tens of thousands of copies, hits bestseller on multiple lists like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, which you got to remember too, like 13, 14 years ago, Amazon bestseller at that time was actually kind of a big deal. Now
Yeah.
everybody knows that list, and we can talk about that then. But regardless,
Hmm.
in my small hometown in Pennsylvania where I grew up, me dropping out of college and becoming a best-selling author like 6 to 12 months later was like the biggest deal ever. Like I was getting hundreds to thousands of messages on Facebook like, How did you do it? I want to write a book. My mom wants to write a book. My uncle, it turns out everybody wants to write a book. Like, and I had no idea, right? So long story short, but this is just helpful so how everybody knows how I got to where I'm at is
Hmm.
long story short, I do the public speaking thing because the reason I became an author to begin with is to leverage the branding of that to become a public speaker. So that did end up working. I did it for about a year. I was getting paid like 3 grand for an hour keynote. I probably did like 10 to 15, right? But at the time, that was a ton of money to me. Remember, like my rent's like 400 bucks a month. I'm living in Iowa actually, and that's a whole other story as to how I end up in Iowa, but regardless, 3 grand and getting flown out to speak for an hour to open up an event, like for me at like 20 years old, huge deal. Like this is like life-changing stuff for me.
Yeah. Hmm.
But then what I realize is that there is way more people that are interested in me helping them become a best-selling author than there are people that want to hire me to speak. Just from a time perspective, I can only do basically like maximum 365 speaking gigs a year. That's like, one a day. Maybe you could do two or three, but like that would be a little
Yeah.
crazy line. So
Even
it just
365 is sounding crazy to me. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that would even be I mean, and that yeah, it's like you don't wanna have any time off, you know? Like, so that's like if you really push it to the max. Well,
Yeah.
it just clicked for me. I was like, "Okay, public speaking, I'll do it here and there, but it's not my main path. I'm not going to be the next Tony Robbins or whatever."
Hmm.
So, what I do is I completely switch paths. I start helping people with their books. I get a ton of testimonials. I figure out how all the bestseller lists work, and I really master, like, book marketing in general, and then I master the other side of, like, publishing, the writing, like more not me, but more of like putting a team together. And then that's where things took off from there, and then since then I've been running Authors Unite for like 13, 14 years. We've done over 4,000 books for people, and that's a variety of publishing and marketing. Then the other business partner Profits, we've been doing that for like a few years under a different brand, but it was rebranded the last few months. So that's kind of the story. I kind of wrote a book and then people started asking me how I did it, and then it turned into this decade plus long business. Oh,
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the first thing I should definitely congratulate is on the consistency. Like once you found a thing that is actually working for you, you didn't deviate. So what was like the key factor? Like, I mean, I've gone into a lot of Chernobyl syndrome once I got my service agency up. I felt that I'm an investor out of nowhere. I felt I could have 7 different hands to do 7 different things. I started a software company, burnt my ass to lose $500,000 cash. So I'm curious, how did you stay so focused on like doing one thing?
good question. Yeah, because it is very rare, especially that your first business works out. I think that is rare. And
Yeah,
I
that is
think
so rare.
especially this long, like 13, 14 years. So I think for me, I'm trying to think how to answer it. Like, I honestly think it's just like once I found something that worked
Hmm.
and it kept working, like in my head, I was just like, for the first time, I didn't have to worry about rent. I didn't have to ask my parents for money. I didn't have to like worry about, all of my
Such a
needs.
relief. Yeah.
Yeah. And like once that was off my shoulders, I was like, why I didn't want to risk. Like, I just, like, avoided risk, I guess, for a while, and I knew if
Mm.
I stayed on this path, I could scale it to pretty far. Like, I don't think Authors Unite's going to become, like, a billion-dollar company. I mean, that would be awesome, but I do think it can hit, like, 9 figures. And, book publishing, we can get into that. We want just the whole industry with tech and stuff is changing rapidly,
Yeah.
but regardless, like 8-figure company, I mean, I do very well at, it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, I've been doing the same thing for 13, 14 years.
No wonder you're successful. Yeah.
But, I just think the focus came out of, like, me just finally feeling that comfortability of, like, "Holy shit, this worked. I made the right move," because at the time when I dropped out of school, it to me, at the time, it was one of the scariest things I ever did. Thinking
Mm.
back, it really wasn't that big a deal, but,
Yeah.
at the time, you're thinking, "What if I fail, and then I have to go back to college, and then, like, I'm older than everybody, and you know what like all those like
Yeah, it's a
ego.
peer pressure, right? It's more about the peer pressure, like the society around us conditioned us to just follow the path. Otherwise you're some random dude, with
For sure.
ADHD or some neural disorder. Something is wrong with you kind of situation, and you don't want to get there.
Totally, yeah, and, like, I've been in college classes I was in college for that, like, year and a half where, randomly, in a couple classes, there was guys in there that were, like, 40, 50 years old. Look, I now that I think back to it, I'm like, "Dude, if that's what you wanna do, great for you," but I know how the other kids felt about it, and they always felt it was weird. They're like, "Oh, we have one of those in the class," like, somebody who didn't complete their degree before, and now they're coming back decades my ego didn't wanna be that guy, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, who gives a crap what other people think? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
you
exactly.
know? So
I mean, I have seen that. I have like this is probably one of the most important successful people traits. Like they don't care about what other things. They have intuition. They have data to make decisions. They don't let other people decide how like individual will behave, because that's just you giving them the power on how you should behave. I think just having that like I had a crazy story to drop out of my college. Like I was going to this college, just to satisfy my parents, and I was sitting in the class reading Steve Jobs' bio story, and I was the only guy who's actually reading a book. The remaining class was one guy was playing on his phone, the other guy was like chit chatting with something else, somebody was watching some movie. Like it was just a shit show happening. I was like, okay, let me just use the time. The lecturer came to me and he grabbed my book and said, "You can't read novels." I was like, "What? You see that dude back?" Like he's watching a
Yeah.
movie. He was like, "No, no, no, you can't do that." And immediately I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is not happening, man." Like, I tried it, not happening. I took my bag, I walked away. That was like the last day in my college, and it's a terrible experience overall. But yeah,
Good
that's
for
great.
you, dude. Yeah,
I mean,
to me, college is more about, like, meeting people, rather than the actual classes, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Because
I mean, I wish I was
ultimately
in Harvard to be able to say that same thing, but my college was like in the middle of nowhere city with most
yeah,
of my college mates are probably broke, or they are underemployed, or they are making 200 bucks a salary. So it's crazy overall, but I'm glad I was able to escape, but I wish I could
for
change the
sure.
education system in a way where they could get to where I am happily. But we'll talk about that. Tyler, good. You actually cracked one important skill set, which is marketing the book. If it wasn't for that skill set, you would never be here indirectly. Like if I didn't learn marketing, advertising, sales funnels, high ticket closing, I would never be where I am podcasting for a fact. So I'm curious if you could walk us through a simple playbook on book marketing. Give us a crash course. Like how does book marketing work? Why is it important for somebody to not just publish a book but actually market it well? Because I think publishing is 20%. 80% of it is marketing, because most books don't even sell like a dozen copies, in my opinion. Like it's just so
Yeah,
like you put all the effort, you write hundreds of pages for what? Like, would love to get a
yeah.
crash course from you. Walk us through what works in book marketing in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, for sure, and I think too well, the first and this is why I'm sure you know who this is too, is, Alex Hormozy. I'm a big fan of his content. I think a lot of
Yeah, we all are.
entrepreneurs are.
Yeah.
But, basically, if you want your book I'll talk about 2 different things here, right? So
Hmm.
short-term success and long-term success. So
Hmm.
and I'll tell you how then, but I can guarantee almost any book short-term success, right? And I'll explain how I can do that then.
Hmm.
But as far as the long-term success goes, that has to do with the quality of the book. So, like, ultimately and there's actually a few books, about this type of stuff. Like, there's one book, I'd call him like an acquaintance of mine. He wrote a book called Never Lose a Customer Again. And what he talks about is, that companies should put their marketing budgets or part of their marketing budgets, not into attracting new clients, but to making the experience of all of their current clients so incredibly amazing that by the time they finish working with you, they want to tell everybody they know. Right. So it's
Hmm.
like there is marketing isn't only about, the new client, it's also about how amazing are your current clients' experience and then having that word of mouth effect take off. So, regardless, what I would say though is ultimately, one of the best ways of marketing a book is having a book that is so incredible that if I get it into thousands of people's hands for you, that word of mouth does take off like 4-hour work week type things, or the examples of this are like Atomic Habits, 4-hour work week.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad, David Goggins' book. Like, these are types of books that just have gone completely viral. Something about them, it's probably multiple things about them. When people read them, they feel compelled to share it with multiple friends for whatever and I think it's for each book, it's for a different reason, right? But, so okay, so the content, and that this is obvious, but I'm just saying, like, spend the time and write the best book you obvious that you can. I don't I do believe in the thing of, like, the new business card is a book, so, like, you can write multiple books. So if you wanna write one book that's kinda, like, more short and it's more of a lead magnet, cool. You could whip that out in a couple months, no problem. But, like, if
Mm.
we're talking about, like, your book that you wanna sell millions of copies of and, like, on top of the world, you gotta take your time and you gotta try to write the best book you possibly can, you know what I mean? It's just the reality. Now, having said that, in the short term, I know how every bestseller list works, right? So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. There's a new one called C Suite. There's LA Times. Like, there's a lot of different bestseller lists. I would say there's like a core six though.
Mm.
And I can essentially guarantee all of them except one, and nobody can guarantee this one. New York Times is one that nobody can guarantee. The
Hardest
reason
one.
for that, I know how it works pretty much, and I can give any book, like, well, not any book, there are some criteria, but essentially, like, if the criteria line up, I can give a book a very high chance of hitting New York Times, but there is no way to guarantee it because it's not like a true bestseller list, honestly, because it's like sales is like a tiny part of the equation. There's so many other criteria, which again, that would take a whole other podcast. So if we do a part three, we can talk about New York Times only. But the other ones though, they all work very similar, right? So, like, Wall Street right now is actually on hiatus. And I won't go in the weeds on that, but regardless, Wall Street, USA Today, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, those ones for the most part, there's some little caveats in there, but for the most part, they are based on sales and sales alone, right? So if you get 5, 6,000 plus sales in 1 week, you're gonna hit all of those lists. Guaran you, like, won't miss, right? So, that's where once I figured that out and those little, like, tricks, like, for example, one of the tricks for USA Today, you don't want all your sales to go through one bookstore. You want multiple bookstores, right? So you want, like, 5,000 sales Amazon, 1,000 sales Barnes& and Noble, and then you're good to go, right? But if all of your sales went through Amazon, you would miss, right? So it's like little tricks like that that you figure out. But regardless, so once I figured that out and I could literally guarantee people bestseller on all of these lists or a full refund, it was a very
That's like the best
easy.
offer. Yeah.
Exact, and that's the thing that Hormozy, it's so funny. After I read Hormozy's books, I realized I was like, this is why everything I've been doing the past 10 plus years has been work like like what he wrote, not everything, but like I would say like 60, 70% of both of his last books, we've been doing those things. And I was just like, no wonder it's working. Like, this guy proved out the theory. I just didn't know of his book before, because this is like 13 years ago when I started. But so it's just so funny. That was like another full circle moment for me. I was like, if Hormozy is saying it works and it worked for me, it's got to be pretty close to guaranteed to work. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, it's like pretty likely. So, regardless, then this is how we got clients, right? So, if you reach out to an author one on one, right, and you say, hey, like, imagine like messaging somebody on LinkedIn. Hey, John, I can guarantee you bestseller on all the lists. Like, hit me back and, let's hop on a consultation. That method doesn't really work that well, right? Because
Yeah.
people don't want to be pitched. Red flags go up, like, too good to be true. This is a
Yeah.
scam, all of those elements for me, and that's why I love talking to people like you, is like, and I'm sure you have other marketing methods, but for you, like funnels and, well, let's just say paid advertising and funnels, that method worked for you, right? And still
Hmm.
does work for you.
Yep.
For me, I never got it to work, right? Like, I tried it when I was younger, and I kept trying all these different things, ads, SEO, funnels, click funnels,
HubSpot,
Infusionsoft, everything.
Infusionsoft. Yeah.
I tried all of it, and it just never worked for me, at least not consistently, right? And that's what annoyed me about it, is like, it was like sometimes I would get good leads and I'd get a client, and then other months I would get a bunch of, leads that didn't have. Either way, it just wasn't consistent. It was like up and down every month. So I finally threw in the bag on that. And then the strategy I came up with, I was like, okay, my clientele for Authors Unite are obviously authors and people that want to be authors, and they need to have money, right? Because our stuff is a very high end. Like, for Wall Street Journal, just we have like 20 services. Wall Street Journal, we charge 60K guaranteed or a full refund. We've done about 800 of those. Right. So just so you can see kind of like the level that we're talking about here, like, not many people have $60,000 to spend on their book marketing. So you got to find the right people. How I did that is I started reaching out to every book publisher in the entire industry. Like, I am not kidding when I say my team or myself have spoken to every book publisher in the world that speaks English. And the only way we have not spoken to them is if they started an hour ago when this podcast started. Like, that is the only way that is possible. And then what happened is, because book publishers, they don't typically do book marketing, and if they do, it's not at the level that we do it. So
Yeah.
what happened is I just built affiliate relationships with all the book publishers. Most of them accepted, some of them for whatever reason said they weren't interested, but I would say, like, we are partnered with easily tens of thousands of publishers in the industry. We have a referral agreement. They refer us their authors that have budgets for our campaigns, and then they get a commission or a kickback. Like,
Hmm.
if you do that at scale, getting to, like, I think if I look at my journey, I started out doing book coaching, and that got me to like 300 grand a year. And then I got burnt out. Right. So, like, one-on-one coaching doesn't scale that well.
Yeah.
Okay. So then next level was I did high ticket done for you and courses, but it was just me. I got to low seven figures doing it that way. Then to get to eight figures, I had to bring on a team to be able to handle more partnership calls, more reach outs. And that's how I got to now nine figures. I don't know. In my mind, I'm just thinking bring on more people and do more partnerships. But, like, I don't know if partnerships is like, there's obviously other ways to do marketing. So maybe there's something me and you to talk about at another time. But
For sure.
um, either way, basically that's kind of the evolution of how it worked. And then we just started picking other targets of people that had worked with a lot of authors. So, like, our top partnership people are book publishers, ghostwriters, editors, and PR agencies. These are all groups or people or companies that work with a lot of authors that can refer to us, because
Hmm.
we do things, we do some of the same things, so we're competitors, but we also do enough different things where there is synergy as well. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
to me, I don't view anything as competition really. I view everything, to me, like, even if it's a direct competitor, I'm like, yo, bro, there's got to be one thing that you do that I don't, and vice versa. We got to find out what that is, and then we can refer and make more money together. Like, I just
Yeah.
don't believe in this whole, like, competition and beating each other. Like, to me, I'd rather we all win, and we
Collaborate.
all
Yeah.
we all just win. Like, why not?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Love that. Tyler, I mean, that is a great mindset. I believe, yeah, like abundance is probably the first principles to be ultra successful, in my opinion. Scarcity people, they're just working their job this week, to pay their bills. And the abundance people are the one who are leading, the world overall. Like, if you look at people like Elon Musk, he believes he could make it to, like Mars for no reason. And he has that abundant mindset, like, hey, if we bring enough people and we work hard enough, we could get there. So I believe you're right. Like, when it comes to business collaborations, I mean, we'll get to a set of questions in the last 10 minutes, but before that, if you could give a short answer on like what's like the playbook for referrals. Like it's not referral is probably one of the most like you could go and get a customer by spending 6 hours, or if you go and spend 6 hours to get one referral, he'll get you six customers every week. It's just a different level game, and you played that very well. So walk
Yeah.
us through like the playbook on how to actually do that. Like how does the kickback look like, and how are you structuring it? Like give us like a mini course here.
Will do. And I do apologize because I realize I feel if it's okay with you, I didn't answer your previous question. And I feel like these are the two most
Sure,
important
please.
things.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
let me give you the macro, and then people can reach out to me after, and obviously I can help them further with specific things about their
Mm,
books if they have questions.
book
But
marketing.
if I were to give like a macro playbook for book marketing, right? You just want ultimately write a good book. That's the obvious part. And then when you come out, like your first week of release, you want to have the biggest launch possible, right? And ultimately, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The way we do it is we have large email lists of people that have opted in to be notified when books are discounted. So I have a collection of email lists that I've partnered with and or acquired, and together it's 5 million plus people. So when we do like 10 to 15 smaller campaigns a week, and we do like 2 to 3 like bigger ones per week. So that's how I'm able to guarantee these things. Like I can guarantee books like 10, 20,000 sales in their first week of release because I have all this email list power, and we discount the book for 1 week. So there's urgency. And then so I would say if I were launching a book, I would try to find as many affiliate partners as I can that all align with that book. And then, incentivize them in some way, have all of them mail on the same first week of release. And then obviously marketing is limitless, right? But ultimately that first week, get as many sales as you can to hit bestseller, then leverage the bestseller accolade for media appearances. That's like blogs, TV, podcasts, to keep the momentum going. And then at the end of the day, the goal is just get your book in as many hands as possible. And if it is good, word of mouth will take off, and then your book will have a life of its own. So that's my like abridged version on the book marketing playbook, but
Yeah, love
happy
that.
to help
Appreciate that.
somebody out further later. So for referrals, though, this is the way that we do it. And here's one trick that hopefully is super helpful for everybody that's listening
Mm,
to this or watching it. Is the thing with like all the social medias and stuff, right? There's limitations to the amount of reach outs that you can do, right? And obviously, I know the trick, like, people can actually like buy LinkedIn accounts now. So you could have like hundreds of all these different LinkedIn accounts. And that's a way to get around the unlimited messaging or limited messaging thing. To me, I just like to keep things simple. I don't want to have 100 LinkedIn accounts personally. No offense to anybody that does that. Great idea, good hack. Just not a thing for me, just personally. So regardless, each of my team members have LinkedIn, they each have Instagram, and they have one each. They maximize the amount of messaging available there. And then the way though that we do unlimited is we reach out to website contact us forms. So on websites, just like where it says contact us, that works. The conversions on that are through the roof. And like it's
wow.
unbelievable.
Never heard of this trick. It's
Yeah, because
interesting.
nobody else really does it, and it literally there is no like limitation to how many you can do. So for example, if you want to reach all the book publishers in the world to partner with them, and I'll even give you guys like the message template that we use and stuff, but you can go to LinkedIn, search book publisher, you'll find I forget how many there are. I think there's like hundreds of thousands or something.
For
And then
sure.
on LinkedIn, you can only message, let's say 100 a day or whatever, right? On their sales navigator. And then they like
Yeah.
block you from messaging more or something like that.
Yeah.
But more what we do is we use LinkedIn as our search engine, and then we find their websites from LinkedIn, and then we hit them up through their website on their contact form. And what's funny is the conversion through the contact form is higher than the
Then the
messaging through
LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
message.
So
Agreed. Because you're competing with no one. You're just getting into the direct DMs with them. Pretty cool.
totally. Yeah, so, like, honestly, I mean, look, LinkedIn's amazing. I mean, I love it, but I think it should be more used as, like, a research tool, and, like, the messaging should be done direct through the website, because you got to think like how many times I'm sure on your website, right? Like, and I haven't gone through, excuse me, every part of your site, but I'll make two guesses, and this is for anybody's site. You have a main opt-in, right? Like that's your lead magnet or book a call or whatever, like
Mm,
goes into your funnel. There's
yep.
a lot of people that go through that, right? So that's normal for you. But then you also have sometimes like contact us, right? And that's
Mm.
just like for queries or like questions.
General,
That
yeah.
that form like never gets filled out. Like nobody ever fills that form
Zero
out.
traffic. Yeah.
So when you get notified that somebody filled it out,
Surprise.
it is like, holy crap. Like somebody actually took the time. Like, I got to get back to this person. I'm telling you, conversions are like
I love
80%.
that, brother. That is crazy. I love that
So,
trick. I mean,
yeah.
weirdest
So
hack I've heard so far in marketing.
dude, that's why I love marketing because really it is limitless. Like there's always like another way. So regardless, the one last thing I'll say on the partnerships, if I were to give like the playbook is so like I'll give two, if it's okay with you. I know we might
Yeah,
be
for
running
sure.
well on time here, but I'm just trying to give as much value as I can. So
Yeah.
ultimately, like I already told you the Authors Unite story of our scaling, right? So we have like a list of like 500 keywords that we're going after, but like the four that I said previously are our top four converting ones: book publisher, PR agency, ghostwriter, editor, right? The reason
Mm,
is because they work with a lot of authors. But I'll give another example of a different type of business so that you can see the power of this. And
mm.
just so everybody knows too, nothing about this is like genius or any like this is the most common way or
The fundamental
easiest
way.
most, you know what I mean? It's literally just referrals. But I think the difference is that most people have never thought of scaling their referrals to like a
Mm.
100,000. Most people have like five referrals, maybe like referral partners, I mean,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Yeah, I have a few partners. They refer to me from time to time." In my head, I'm like, "Well, yo, if you want to grow your business, you should get like a million of those people, and then you'll have like $1 billion business." So, like, why
Yeah,
don't
no question. Yeah.
that's how my brain works. But regardless, so say if you like he's a friend of mine now in Miami. He does like vitamin IVs and stuff. He's like health hacking
Interesting.
type guy.
Hmm.
So the way to scale his business would be he's in Miami, right? So what we would do is we would reach out to all of the gym owners and fitness trainers in South Florida and like
Mm.
beauty salons, things like that, like anything that, like maybe like juice
Med
places,
spa, yeah, cool sculpting.
reach out to all of them. And then basically and here's the message. Hey, name, I think there might be ways we can collaborate. Tyler, authorsunite.com. Or for him, obviously different signature, but same
Mm.
message. This message, it's really short. It perks curiosity and it gets the conversion is really high. People respond and they say, tell me more. Like, what do you
Yeah,
mean?
it's
How can we
non-salesy. Yeah.
Exactly, like, how can we collaborate? And then you're like and then, again, just because 'cause we're on limited time, but there's a whole path to get them to book a call, and it's like it's literally 70-80% conversion. It works almost every single time.
Love that.
And it's
Love that.
the reason it works is because I'm not trying to sell that person really anything. I'm trying to refer to people to them and them refer to me. We're just trying to, like, partner. So it's way easier to get somebody to be receptive to that than it is to get somebody to be receptive to like buying something from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Totally.
So, that's how I would scale his business, right? And then ultimately, all the fitness trainers in South Florida would be referring their clientele to his IV clinic. And he does a lot more than that, but just for example's sake, IV clinic,
Hmm.
because the same type of clientele that would hire a fitness trainer is the same type of clientele that would do an IV. And then the fitness trainer is getting a commission from those referrals for the IVs, and then, it'll get to a point where you have an entire army of fitness trainers all referring to the same clinic and his business will like 10x. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's the most, to me, the most obvious. Now, the only thing about the method that isn't the best is that it takes a lot of time. You know
It
what I
takes
mean? You got
work.
to do a lot of thinking.
And that's what nobody likes, right? That's why they look for the gimmicks. They want to obviously avoid the work. to get a short-term success. But if they do this for 6 months, no questions, they will, like anybody can achieve
Dude,
success with this strategy.
it multiplies. That's the thing too, is like once you have an established referral partner, that's forever. And so with Facebook ads, and again, I know they're great and they can work, but once you stop paying Facebook,
It's
then
done. You're
it's
killing
over.
yourself. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that would be my playbook is just like if you're a business and you're trying to scale, think about who your partners could be, reach out to them and, do build a team, I'm talking about thousands of we do like 10, 20,000 reach outs a day at this point. So you don't have to go that crazy. Um,
No wonder you're doing 8 figures now. Like, I
yeah.
get the playbook.
Dude, yeah, and, like, do it at scale, like, so we're trying to partner with everybody, and, why not? It's just a win-win-win, so, I guess, hopefully that's helpful, and I just believe
Yes.
every business definitely a has a group of businesses or people that could be amazing referral partners. You just gotta
Mm,
take a few minutes and think about, like, okay, where are my clients? Who else are they buying from? I need to partner with those people,
I love
and then
that.
once you have those keywords, just reach out to those people. So
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
basically all you do.
What a strategy, bro. That was like very actionable. And guys, don't let just this story be a marketing shebang for your head. Take notes. He literally given away the playbook on how to build an 8 figure business. Like legitimately. If you do 10,000 reach outs like what Tyler is talking about, and you do that for 1 year and tell me you're not making money, it's not possible. As long as you have a
Yeah.
good product and you have a genuine product and genuine result. Tyler, we left so many questions, brother. We gotta do a part two. Like it's really important for us to, kind of cover, more information, and you have so much more to share. So I know we have a hard stop in 2 minutes. Guys, I'm going to do another episode with Tyler. So stay tuned. I'll be uploading the
Awesome.
part two as well, as long as Tyler is okay with it.
I'm in. Yeah, yeah, I'm down. I love podcasting, man. This is like my favorite thing to do, so I'm down.
Perfect. Okay, great. And so, guys, stay tuned. I'll be back with another amazing guest and also with an episode two with Tyler. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the Nikhil Sai Show. There was a lot of things for you to learn and execute. Just take 5 key takeaways and start doing it today. Just go and like fill out 100 forms. That's it. Like that's the only request I have, and see the magic. He literally gave the playbook, the exact script to use as well. So do not delay. Try it for yourself, and I'll be back with another amazing guest, just like Tyler. Bye for now. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, man.
Brother.